And so we're working very hard on this issue that impacts LA County more so than any other community in this country. And that's housing affordability and our sheer number of family, friends, and neighbors who are homeless. And I frame it that way because Reggie and I have some colleagues in the legislature who like to think, oh, people come from other states to come to California and they're homeless to take advantage of our services. Well, I represent Skid Row right now in the Senate. And when I'm down there talking to people who live on the streets in Skid Row and the women in the Downtown Women's Center, I always say, where are you from? Not once have I heard someone tell me they're from another state. I'm from South LA. I'm from Watts. I'm from Compton. I'm from Leimert Park. I'm from Crenshaw. They are our family, friends, and neighbors who could no longer afford to live in the communities that many of us have grown up in. So we have to do better as a state. I'm a third-generation Native Angelino. My mother went to Jeff. My mother was born on 49th and Crenshaw, 49th and Central, at a house that my great-uncle owned. He owned a barber shop on Central Avenue. I want my son to have the same opportunities and benefits of being an Angelino that my grandmother and my mother and I have always had. So we're going to have to come together as a community to make sure that we are bringing business opportunities across LA County. The second district has some of the greatest assets as a community, also has some of the greatest needs as a community. So when we talk about public health, we have some of the highest rates of STDs and other public health disparities. We have the highest unemployment rate in the second supervisorial district. We have the highest number of children in the foster care system in the second supervisorial district. So I am running for that seat because I'm clear that we have to bring a new heightened level of courageous, visionary leadership to continue the work that Supervisor Billy Thomas has done. It's already been 12 years he's turned out on a go-forward basis. The second district residents deserve it, fundamentally, from my perspective. So that's why I'm running. And as Reggie and I know, to be a problem solver is not easy. If it were, we wouldn't have as many problems as we do. So to know how to bring solutions together, to bring coalition, to find the money in the budget, to work collaboratively with various levels of government, to bring in private-public partnerships in terms of community investment. Those are skills that I'm proud that I've been able to hone the 9 years that I've been in the legislature. And that's the kind of work I intend to continue to do and hopefully will be able to do as your next county supervisor. What I've been struck by in talking to people in communities is this sense that, particularly folks who live in unincorporated areas of the county, like Florence-Firestone, this notion that you aren't seen and not heard. That's really troubling to me. And I'm not sure if that's because you're missing one level of bureaucracy because it's not a city council level. I'm not sure what it is, but the stories I've heard are deeply troubling. And so I agree with you. It's about having the community's ear. It's about respecting the experience of people who live and work and go to school in communities every day, and at least engaging in conversation about how we come together to solve community problems. And so that's the way I've always organized, from a community level up, coming from Crystal Stayers. That was my orientation. And that's the approach I would continue to take if elected to the LA County Board of Supervisors. So I appreciate your patience and your time. I appreciate you allowing me to come and really hear direct some of the challenges you're experiencing. I have to say, all of us are in it together. There are community meetings taking place all over this state right now where people are talking about the same thing. We want safe, high-quality schools for our kids. We want tree canopies. We want parks that are safe for us all to be able to go to. And everybody wants to be able to afford a place to live. And so those are issues that aren't unique to this district, but they're certainly issues that people in this district are experiencing at a great level. And I hope to be a part of the solution. So I want to thank you, Dominique, for inviting me and allowing me to have a couple of moments. Thank you very much.
Okay, before I bring up the next presenter, I'd just like to announce that we did have somebody else scheduled from zoning today, but I felt that the importance of bringing out the next presenter was because of the recent death we had here in our district from somebody from the dying of the West Nile virus. The problem's only going to get worse unless we find out more about this issue with the mosquitoes. And very happy Ms. Diaz was able to come out here and speak regarding this. Thank you.
Good evening. Let me just set this up really quick. So it's loading up, and hopefully you can see it soon.
It'll get brighter.
Okay. Well, to start, my name is Anaís Medina Diaz. I am the Public Information Officer for the Greater Los Angeles County Vector Control District. Very long name, but vector control. What is a vector? It is an insect that can transmit a disease. So for us, mosquitoes are the biggest threat in LA County because they can transmit West Nile virus. A little bit more about the mosquito. It is the deadliest creature in the world. More than humans, more than snakes, more than dogs. It kills about 725,000 people a year. And that is because of the diseases they can transmit, like West Nile virus. So a little bit more about us, vector control. We are funded by taxpayer dollars, by property taxes. So our services are free of charge. And what that means is that if you are having an issue with mosquitoes, then we can come out, help you find that source, but you're not getting bit and risking the possibility of contracting a mosquito kind of disease. Additionally, we regularly service the areas, including unincorporated LA County, so like flood control channels, parks, drains, all of those places are sources for this Culex mosquito. So we serve 35 cities and portions of unincorporated LA County, like here, and we serve nearly 6 million residents in 1,300 square miles. We are not the only vector control district. There's another one that serves the west side, the SGV, San Gabriel Valley, and Compton. So Compton actually has their own vector control district. And how we go about this is that we do disease surveillance. So we monitor the types of the diseases that we have here. West Nile virus is endemic in LA County, but we also make sure that the counts of mosquitoes are manageable. So if there's high counts, then we'll go around and we'll make sure they're not transmitting any actual diseases. Additionally, we do the operations, which is treating like known sources, and then we do community affairs, which is kind of like my job, and come out and talk to you guys. So, how do you get rid of mosquitoes? Well, mosquitoes need water to survive. Without water, without standing dirty water, there won't be any mosquitoes. They go through their life cycle from egg to adult in 5 to 7 days. So if you watered your plants, you maybe overwatered your plants, and there's like water that sits at the very base, that can breed mosquitoes. So if you're getting bit, that might be the source. And then on the side, you can see a little bit how the larvae actually looks. They look like little squigglies, and a lot of people think they're tadpoles, but they're not. They're mosquito larvae. And they pop out just like that. So here in LA County, we have 2 different types of mosquitoes. We have the Culex mosquitoes and the Aedes mosquitoes. The Culex mosquito is our native mosquito. It's brown. It bites during dusk and dawn, and it usually doesn't really like humans. It likes chickens, chickens and birds, and that's why they can transmit West Nile virus. But now we have this invasive Aedes mosquito, and this invasive Aedes mosquito is very particular. Has anybody been getting bit during the day, around the ankles, multiple times, really itchy, leaves kind of like these big, large welts? Those are the Aedes mosquito, and they are invasive. They've actually been here since 2015, and they've started spreading all through LA County. And they're a little bit different. They're different because they only like humans. They don't like anything else. But before we get to how to get rid of those guys, these Culex mosquitoes are really our biggest threat still because, again, they are actively transmitting West Nile virus. Like he mentioned, we had our first human fatality this year. Not within our district, it was actually in the South Bay, but we have had 8 human cases this year. That's actually relatively low compared to other years. In the past, we've had up to 50 in just one season. This year has been pretty tame. That's probably because of our weather, our cooler weather. But in the state of California, there's actually been 128 human cases and over 3,000 mosquito samples that came back positive. And a little bit about how you can get West Nile virus again. A mosquito has to bite an infected bird, and then from there, the mosquito bites a human, and that's how you can get the virus. What are some of the symptoms? It's actually very asymptomatic. You're not going to see any symptoms. Only 1 of 5 people will feel some symptoms, and they can be like mild flu-like symptoms. But the most susceptible people are people over 50 years old and people with weakened immune systems. And some of the more severely ill, some of the more severe symptoms can be death, meningitis, paralysis, those kinds of symptoms. There is no cure and there is no vaccine, which is why it's really important to be more on the preventative side. So now, Aedes mosquito, which you've all experienced. So this Aedes mosquito can transmit Zika, dengue, yellow fever, chikungunya. All of these diseases are subtropical, tropical diseases. You'll find them mostly in other parts of the world. And we don't have any local transmission. But what we do have is people going to other parts of the world, not taking insect repellent, getting bit there, and then coming back. And so that increases our risk of having local disease, a local outbreak. Because when we have the actual mosquito here, and people with the diseases coming here, and that increases our chances. That's why we need the community's input and the community's help to get rid of some of these sources. So again, I kind of described a little bit, if you're getting bit aggressively during the daytime multiple times, they're leaving kind of like some large welts, that's usually the Aedes mosquito. And they can transmit canine heartworm to your dogs and to your cats. So a little bit more about the viruses, but they all kind of have the similar symptoms, very flu-like, cold-like symptoms, rashes, headaches, stuff like that. So why do they thrive around us? Because all they need is a little bit of water. They need a spoonful of water, and they can go through their whole life cycle in 5 to 7 days. If the temperatures are just right, it could be 3 to 5 days. And the eggs can remain viable for years. So that means if they laid them like this season, they didn't get any water. Next season, they get a little bit more water, then they start to hatch. And they're very hard to tell. So if you look here, if you count like here, there are little dots right there. Those are all the eggs, and they look like dirt. So it's very hard to tell them apart, and that's why it's much better to get rid of the actual container. Here are some common sources that we find at homes, which is why we need everyone's participation. It can be anything from like a rain barrel, any indoor plants, any vases. If you have outdoor plants and you have the dishes on the bottom, those are also sources. Bird baths, basketball hoops. The little hole that's in the back of the basketball hoops collects water when the cap is lost. Old tires, if you have old tires just hanging around in your yards, those will collect water, and then the water is almost impossible to get out. So they'll start to breed in there. Trash, recyclables, buckets, anything like that, anything that can capture water, those are areas you're gonna get mosquito breeding. Other common places are green swimming pools. Here in a little bit more urban areas, you'll see above ground pools, so like the doughboys or the little blue pools. Those are breeding sources if the water is not changed every 7 days. Bromeliads, anybody's familiar with those? They're beautiful red flowers, but they collect water within their leaves, and that's where they can breed more mosquitoes. So how do you protect yourself besides getting rid of the sources? And this is not just for the Aedes, it's also for the culex. You protect yourself by wearing insect repellent, and that will help you not only avoid the bites, but also avoid getting West Nile virus. Additionally, if you repair any of your screens, if you wear long sleeves or long pants, that will also help. And these like citronella candles, the citronella plants, any of those blue lights, those really don't help with the mosquitoes. If anything, you're attracting them closer to you, and then they're gonna bite you. So to wrap up, the most important thing you can do is tip, and you can toss, and you can protect yourself by wearing an inspector repellent. If you can absolutely not find the source, then you can give us a call and we'll come out and help you find the sources. And if needed, we can treat those areas to make sure that there's no active transmission happening in your neighborhoods. And so that protects your health as well. And if you have any questions, let me know. Again, my name is Anais, and I'm with the Greater Los Angeles County Vector Control District.
Thank you. Our next executive board meeting is going to be on November 6th. If you'd like to attend, it'll be at 4 p.m. at Carlitos Tires at 7001 Compton Avenue. Speaking of Carlitos Tires, there's going to be an event held there on Halloween from 6 to 10 p.m. They're going to have a maze, and there's going to be some popcorn and candy and nachos being sold there, and a lot of refreshments. So please come out. Once again, that's going to be on Halloween from 6 to 10 p.m. at 7001 Compton Avenue.
And the trunk or treat.
And it's called Trunk or Treat. And there should be some flyers up by the exit of the event if you'd like to grab one on the way out. And 7:10, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
If anybody interested in the public safety committee, come on over. I'm sitting right here.
Pleasure to meet you. Very good presentation. Director Day show good time. Even though outside of our district, it's always good to go in the meeting. Like you said, it's on the intersection of Florence-Firestone, and something our constituents go like some are Florence-Firestone. Okay. Sounds good. And your name is again? Oh yeah. So why don't you just go right here? My favorite is Café de Canela.
There's still pizza up here, but if you'd like to have pizza right now. Thank you.
Yes, it does. How was people tonight? Oh, sorry. I work for the high school. But your organization sounds amazing, so I'm just wondering about more information I can okay, awesome. So I'm at Animal Campground and then also at Animal Project. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. Okay. And how long does it go? Okay, cool. Is there a way that I can see
is open to students for every achievement academic level. And so if you have students who are in your card, I can tell you, because maybe you can always find students that you're in a different selection. So every week it's a different topic that we cover. So there'll be an issues week where we're trying to figure out from the students what issues are affecting them that they can cover. We're actually going to match them up with mentors depending on what field they want to go into. So we're working with USC to do mentors and match up with them. We're going to do like a career day. We're also doing a college readiness day on how to cover the different levels every college level kind of talk about the process of learning once you have CrossFit has a trade school here.
I know that. That was my tip why I did it.
Once you know stuff has to go there.
That I know.
We do live counseling. We also ultimate goal is to allow them to be able to possibly write a book. They can spend time on the floor with the assistant member and learning. So the counseling program is our first one. We're not looking for 30 kids or kids today. When you make
Thank you for coming to the installation.
engage and you just care about their community. They want to participate. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Richard is better than supposed to be there. You're the nearest. Without the heart.
There's like kids who act and they're like, someone's gonna come here and I know just because I'm new, I don't know if they're in danger, you know, where they pick them up and let them, and they're like, well, I'm like, Let me check it out. I did bring it up in the last demonstration. But even if you're getting like, there used to be before, so other ones that we built. I am going to get you that for that one.